Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Michael Price, and I'll be your presenter, hopefully entertainer, for today's 30-minute webinar. My questions panel is open. If you have any questions at all, even if it's not quite related to contractor team arrangements, and there's about 17 different ways to say contractor team arrangements. There's contractor teaming arrangements, contractor team agreements, teaming agreements. They all mean the same. I just use the acronym CTA. Who am I and why am I here today? Why am I here every week? We took the last couple of weeks off to do some traveling to various clients, which was fun, except it's getting kind of cold up north, so I think I'll stay in South Florida. I am a service-disabled Vietnam veteran, the oldest consultant doing GSA contracts, but not just GSA. I've been doing pretty much everything in the background for many, many years. I worked on the beta team at GSA, and I do this because when I first learned all about government contracting, there was nobody around to help me like I try to help you folks. I was very fortunate to have one of the three gentlemen who rewrote some of the government procurement laws teach me all about, in particular, GSA. And I figured I'd try that out one day. August 12th, 1986, I made a phone call to a gentleman who is now an ultra billionaire, Michael Dell. So in one word, two words, experience matters. Today's agenda. CTA, I'll just use the acronym. CTA benefits primarily scheduled contractors and government buyers. But then we're going to go a step further and look at CTA as it relates to the prime and the subcontractor relationships. But most importantly, because I'm just going to assume that most of us here today are small business. There are CTAs and small business set-asides. Before I go any further, if you haven't already, please download the handouts. One of them is today's slides. And I actually gave you some additional information taken directly from government websites, which will help you as far as learning a little bit more in depth, more than we can cover in the 30 minutes we're here today. Give you a moment to find that. If it's not listed on your control panel at the top, view, put a check mark next to handouts and they'll appear. Download them at your heart's content and let's move forward. What is a CTA? Like I had said, primarily for GSA, and it's a beautiful thing that GSA allowed to be created a few years back. I don't know the exact date, where two or more schedule holders can put together a total solution. I provide services, you provide products. We can team together and go into Homeland Security and solve their mission critical issue. But you'll notice one of the key words in the slide says compete for orders. You may not be able to qualify individually. We don't really compete on GSA, and there's a number of asterisks that are involved there. We do not do traditional bidding. It's that B word. I hate those B words. We don't really do traditional bidding. And the acronym or the analogy I can give you is if you bid for a RFP, request for proposal, and you win that RFP, you get a contract. But if you already have a contract, i.e. a GSA contract in particular, I'll discuss the open market in a moment. If you already have a GSA contract, why are you bidding? You can give your buyer, agency, whoever, any type of flexible pricing that you want, and it doesn't affect your schedule price. We see this a lot in the last few weeks of September, where agencies are running out of budget money. They've got $100,000 left, and what you're trying to provide them as a solution, whether it be individual or as a CTA, comes to $110,000. And the buyer says, I've only got $100,000 left. Do we have any wiggle room? My guess is, I know what I would say, I don't even have to think about it, absolutely. Because that may not happen again, but if it does, then you move into one of our upcoming webinars, which I haven't listed yet, would be blanket purchase agreements, which is an excellent source for getting guaranteed revenue during a set period of time. What are the benefits? You can compete for schedule orders, which you normally wouldn't get individually. And by the way, the full text of all this is in the handouts. I tried to excerpt it so we could put some narration to it and answer any questions. You also reduce your risk. You're sharing the responsibilities. If I'm doing services and you're doing products, and there's a problem with the products, it doesn't come on me, it comes on you. But it still comes on the team. But I don't have to get involved in the product side. I have clients over the years who have gone into CTAs, and they've done very, very well. How does this benefit the government buyer? They get a total solution. And if there's socioeconomics involved, I'm a disabled vet, you're an 8A, together they get credit for both of the socioeconomic tools, which the SBA has set out as their goaling, which they must meet. By the way, if anybody has a question, please feel free to type it in, and I'll do my best to answer it right away. What about prime versus subcontractor? The main difference? CTA, both partners are equal. If you're a subcontractor, and this is where the law changed probably 3-4 years ago, where if I'm a subcontractor to one of the major primes and I'm providing, we'll say, services, and I do the work, and then I expect to be paid. I invoice the prime, nothing comes. What they were doing was they were waiting for the government to pay them. Then they would start their 30-day clock, 35, 40, 60-day clock to pay you. Too many small businesses were going out of business. So the government changed the law that says when they get paid, you get paid. Well, I'll probably have a webinar on prime and sub relationships coming up shortly. Here's a chart, and by the way, the handout has the full chart. That's why it says see full attachment. And the problem is that it was so much of it, I couldn't get it on one slide, and it would have taken 3 or 4 or 5 slides. I'm not going to bore you with that. Each team member must have a GSA contract. When you're on the prime sub, only the prime has to have it. Each team member is responsible for the duties that are outlined in the CTA document. The good news is, as a subcontractor, you don't have any responsibility. You either perform or you don't perform. Very interesting. And there's quite a few more in the handouts. And if you have a problem with the handouts, at the end of the presentation, there'll be a direct email address to me. I'll try to help you out getting them. We've had some folks before say, I can't get the handouts. I don't know why. I didn't have time to really diagnose it, but I can certainly talk to the software people that provide this service and find out why certain people have a problem. My guess is handouts aren't checked in your view menu. What's the contractor's responsibility? You've got the contract. Give you a moment to peruse through that. The sum of it all is both team members who have contracts, who have combined their resources to provide a solution, must abide by the terms and conditions of their contracts. I don't have to abide by yours. You don't have to abide by mine because we don't know what they are. You have products, I have services. The agreement must identify what your role and responsibility is. And the government, the buyer, actually gets a copy of that so that they understand that you understand that they understand. Kind of redundant, but I think you get the picture. What about set-asides? Here's the caveat. All team members must meet the status. That doesn't mean that you both have to be 8A, you both have to be disabled vets. If both of you have your individual socioeconomic status, that's what they're looking for. If only one of you is, then the one with the status must perform at least half of the work. Here's where we hold their feet to the fire. The buyer is responsible for reporting their goals to the government, but you have the privity of the buying activity. Does that make sense? I didn't want to get into this right away, but I will. And then I'll entertain some questions and we'll use up our 30 minutes. We decided to get into the market low end, if you will, because we are so highly automated. We looked at the numbers, we looked at the time, and we believe that we can satisfy everybody's budget by the special offer that we have for you. I'll leave that up while I take a couple questions. Bill, good question. You've had a contract for, looks like 2 years. And before I finish the question, let me give you a question. Have you achieved your 25,000 minimum sales in this 2 years? Good. You're past that, so you don't have to worry about contract termination for lack of sales. The rest of the question is, I may have gone by the slide a little too fast for you, but both partners, all partners. You don't have to have just one or two. You can have a complete team of 5, 10, 100, whatever you all want to offer in the solution, as long as all of you have a contract. Does that answer your question? Sally asks, VA contracts. Couple caveats on VA contracts, which are going on right now, and just makes me absolutely happy that the VA finally decided to succumb to the pressure of the marketplace. Yes, we could help you with a VA contract, primarily, obviously, for medical equipment, anything to do with hospitals. Anything outside of that, the VA will use a GSA contract. But most importantly, for those of us that have been in this business for over 32 years, helping small business get going in the government, the VA has finally decided that they're going to allow their solicitations, which is same as an RFP, their solicitations to be included on GSA e-offer, which makes it far more automated, far easier, and much quicker to get the work done. So, excellent question, and I look forward to the day when we can start automating the VA process of getting people a contract. Next question, please. How long does it take for GSA and VA contracts? I was hoping you wouldn't ask that question. There was a time when we could do a start to finish GSA contract in about 30 days. Then it went to 60. Then the average was about 45. And then it started going out a little further, I guess, as it got more and more popular. We started out primarily doing, Lee, I see your question. I'll get to you in just a second. We started out primarily doing IT because, quite frankly, I don't think anybody knew the rest of them existed. There's currently about 41, 42 GSA contracts alone. I believe, without looking, there's either 4 or 5 VA contracts. The problem we had was that because of all the backlog at GSA, plus the never-ending government shutdown, actually had one client took almost a year to get his award. Let's go to the VA side. We had a very, very interesting client for 2 years. And of course, once they graduate and start making millions, they forget who brought them to the party. It took over 18 months for their contract. Not their fault, not our fault, entirely the VA's fault. They had it for about 9 months, the proposal, application. And then suddenly I get an email that says, we lost your proposal documents. Well, that's interesting since we had to provide 2 copies to them in the first place. It had to be in paper, by the way, which was, you talk about a first generation word processor. We resubmitted to them. We didn't actually resubmit. We emailed them the copies. Then it took another 7, 8 months to finally get the thing awarded. So the answer to your question is, I have no idea what it takes. Ideally, the government says they want 120 days to be able to start to finish. But there's some tricks. And we're going to do a webinar on tricks of getting contracts awarded quicker. But I will give you a little sneak peek. One of them is, if you're trying to do business with an agency now, and they really want to use you, we actually have a letter template that we give to you to give to them so that they can write that letter. It's written to GSA, but it's delivered back to you, and we submit it to the government, whether it's GSA or VA. And that tells them we're a squeaky wheel. We need to get oil quickly. So that's a little sneak peek of what's coming up. Lee asks, what veteran services were you in? The only part that I can tell you is that I was in the Air Force. I worked in comm and crypto communications, and that's about all I can say on that. So sorry for a short answer, Lee, but that's what I was authorized to give out. Any other questions? Give me a moment to read this one. How long are the codes good for? Well, obviously, like any good salesperson, today, but quite frankly, we don't like to put pressure on anybody. When you're ready, let's schedule a call. And I would suggest that I believe the next slide has some very valuable links. One of them is right on our website. Do I qualify for a GSA contract? I think I'm going to change the name of that. Say, do I qualify for a GSA and or VA contract? Because the requirements are pretty much the same. 2 years in business. Do you have to be profitable? Not really. Is the government profitable? No. 2 years in business. And of course, I get the question right away, what reasons would I not get a contract, whether it's GSA or VA? 3 reasons. One of them is you haven't been in business 2 years. 2 of them, the second one is your financials are really, really bad where you're not paying your employees and you're on the verge of bankruptcy, which doesn't make sense because about 22 years ago, we actually got a company, a contract, who was in bankruptcy and came out and flourished. Unfortunately, I can't tell you who that was. The next item would be failure to respond to a request for information from GSA in a timely fashion. If GSA or VA, I'll just say the contracting officer, makes it easier. If they ask for a response or reply on something within 5 days and you show up in 6 days, chances are you're going to get terminated. And I said 3, but there's really 4. The last one is failure to negotiate with the government in good faith. We have a lot of businesses that believe that their product and or service is priced pretty good right away, and they say, we don't discount to anybody. Well, the GSA and VA buyers can go out and buy your product open market if they absolutely have to, or find another source. But you're getting a 5-year contract. With VA, it's a 10-year contract. With GSA, it's 5 years with 3 5-year extensions. So you really end up with a total of 20 years. Is it not worth giving a 5% discount if you don't discount to anybody and make it up in volume? I can tell you right now, the offer that we're giving you, normally, we couldn't do it. It would cost us money. But because of automation, we've made it so much easier, cut our time down from over 100 hours way down. So we're taking a chance to see how this runs. Hopefully that answers your question. Next question, please. Yes, at the end of this presentation, let me change slides for you now, get you to the links. The next slide will show you the contact info. Plus, I believe that when GoToWebinar sends out the invitations, or the confirmations, they have my email address in it. Feel free to email me anytime. let's schedule a call if you want to discuss anything. Our webinar schedule, unfortunately, is pretty much empty right now because we are putting together some new ones. It'll be, again, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. And yes, that's good. I love when these questions come in on time. Our videos will show you all of the videos of every webcast that we've done over the last year. Try to keep them up to date. This one will be up within an hour or two. You can also check our frequently asked questions, which we just got finished revamping to make it so much easier for you to find your answers. Here's the contact information that you need. Again, if you can't get your handouts, please let us know and I'll try to make arrangements for you to get to them. If there are no more questions, we'll bid adieu for the day. You will see a survey at the end. And don't be nice just to be nice. It's a one-question survey. You can be critical. If there's no other questions, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a privilege to be able to work with you today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. I respond to every email. Thank you and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.